drill, non-drill,
right.
so to speak.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see videos. I'm sure we'll be getting those images in as we move throughout the day of people in the street, what it looked like in Hawaii on the Big Island when this occurred. Again, if you're just joining us, the people of Hawaii received a false alarm a short while ago indicating there was an incoming missile to seek shelter. It was not a drill. That was the original message. It turned out to be a false alarm, thankfully, thank God. And then there was a correction sent out, and we're trying to digest it now and figure out exactly how this happened and what will be done next. Captain Ben Collins, I want to thank you very much for your time in joining us today here at Fox News.
Laura, as you were talking, I was following what's going on Twitter here, and I'll point out to you real quickly. We got someone saying, this was my phone when I woke up just now, explaining what they saw, and that was ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii, seek immediate shelter. And this person went on to say, I'm in Honolulu, Hawaii, and my family is on the North Shore. They were hiding in the garage. My mom and sister were crying. It was a false alarm, but belting a lot of people, or bolting a lot of people are shaking. I'm sorry, I misread that, but betting a lot of people are shaken. And then U.S. Pacific Command, it tweeted as well, U.S. Pacific Command has detected no ballistic missile threat to #Hawaii. Earlier message was sent in error and was a false alarm. And Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, who represents Hawaii, went on to say this is a false alarm. We have to stress that. There is no incoming missile to Hawaii. I have confirmed with officials there is no incoming missile. But again, getting back to that mom and sister hiding in the garage crying, that's a nightmarish situation for that family and other families. So on the phone right now, I was just talking about her, and we were alluding to her, and her tweet is Hawaii Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. Good of you to join us today. Bad time right now, but at least it's good to know that this has been a false alarm. Congresswoman, what happens next to allay the fears and make sure that we don't have a situation like this occurring again where it's in a false alarm?
Aloha. We're still working to try to get the word out and make sure that everybody in Hawaii has gotten the message that this was indeed a false alarm. As soon as I was able to, as soon as I heard of the alert, I immediately called Hawaii state officials, confirmed that there was actually no incoming ballistic missile to Hawaii, that it was a false alarm, and started getting on the phone, tweeting it out, getting the message out to Hawaii local media as quickly as possible. And I was able to reach them before they had gotten any other word in many cases. So we're still trying to make sure that people actually know what happened. And we're starting to get to the bottom of, we'll be working to get to the bottom of what actually happened and why this message went out mistakenly.
Well, this has caused quite a bit of pandemonium out there and panic for a lot of people. I was just reading, you probably heard me talking about one tweet from a young lady who was talking about her mother and daughter were actually crying and hiding in the garage. So as you move forward, there's the relief of knowing that this was a false alarm, but how do you prepare people to overcome this and move on and put it behind them and yet be prepared and be vigilant for the possibility in this crazy world that something like this could in fact happen?
Yeah, well, this is the stark reality that the people of Hawaii face, and what it's going to be like if that nuclear strike, that missile comes to Hawaii. Cell phones all across the state, over 1 million people in my home state of Hawaii got this alert saying a ballistic missile is headed your way, take shelter. This is not a drill. So what they have just gone through is that immediate reality of knowing they've got 15 minutes to take shelter. Where can they take shelter? Where can they take shelter that will protect them and their families from a nuclear bomb coming their way? This just points to the failure of our country's leaders for decades that have put Hawaii in this country in this position today, that the people of Hawaii just went through this today, that stark reality.
Given what you've just said, and given the facts of what just happened, this, in my mind, in the minds of a lot of people who are in defense and in Congress and even the President of the United States, it makes one think, how tough do you need to be with North Korea? How tough should one be with Iran? these are countries that pose a nuclear threat to the United States. And we've heard Kim Jong-un say many times that he is developing a missile that will have the capability of reaching the United States. So at this juncture, based on what's happened here, albeit a false alarm, which is a great thing, what do you say in terms of moving us forward with the posture of readiness and vigilance and having the resolve to say to North Korea, stop it, end it, let's get this done?
Well, first of all, one thing that I've been calling for a very long time is for those direct talks to actually happen between the United States and North Korea, between President Trump and Kim Jong-un, so that we can de-escalate and ultimately reach that objective of eliminating this nuclear threat from North Korea, nuclear weapon. North Korea does. This is the reality that the people of Hawaii have faced for quite some time. This is not some far-off potential possibility in the future. This is a very real thing. There is no time to waste. Previous administrations, both Democrat and Republican, have failed to take this rising threat seriously, bringing us to the position that we are in today. And these administrations have said time and again, well, we won't talk to North Korea because, we won't talk to them until they get rid of their nuclear weapons. They have all these preconditions that are just not realistic. And unfortunately, that is continuing with this administration today. President Trump is not taking this threat seriously, as the people of Hawaii have just gone through the reality of what this really is. He needs to engage directly, talk directly with North Korea so that we can remove this nuclear threat, so that we can achieve peace and make it so that my family and the families in Hawaii and the families all across this country are not going to have to go through what the people of Hawaii just went through, are not going to have to live with the reality of this nuclear threat.
And Congresswoman, have you had the occasion to speak directly to President Trump? As you know, he's been extremely tough with regard to rhetoric about Kim Jong-un and North Korea. He's been extremely tough, and South Korea leadership even thanked him for his toughness because it led, they believe, to talks, the first talks in 2 years between the North and the South in terms of preparing for the Winter Olympics. But have you been able to have the occasion to talk to the president directly and state what you just stressed here?
I met with President Trump just a couple of weeks after he won his election back in 2016, talked about a number of different threats to this country, including this threat to the people of Hawaii and this country from North Korea. I have not spoken to him directly since. However, I've made it clear time and again to members of his administration and speaking out publicly about the need for direct talks without preconditions with North Korea to find a peaceful, negotiated outcome to remove this nuclear threat that exists for the people of my home state and this country every single day. The time for posturing and maneuvering and all of these different things, this has been going on for far too long. They've got to sit down across the table from each other and figure this thing out to remove this threat.
Have you been able to speak to the Hawaii governor, and what response has the state of Hawaii had in terms of this human error that took place to put out this false alarm? You stated earlier at the top of this interview that an investigation was going on, that you would find out what happened. So while we can talk about North Korea and cybersecurity and hacks and all of that, there's still a responsibility that we ourselves have to make sure that we're acting fit and proper in terms of how we handle our nuclear preparedness, defense preparedness. So have you received any response from the state and from the governor?
It's been a little over an hour since this alert went out, and I've spent all of that time getting the word out to the people of Hawaii that this is not a real threat, that this is a false alarm. I will be reaching out to the governor and to civil defense officials in Hawaii to figure out exactly what happened, what went wrong, how this occurred, and make sure that this never happens again.
Congresswoman, you're a human being. These are your constituents. Your constituents are your people. And
this is my family.
This is your family,
This
exactly.
is my constituents. This is my home. This is yeah. I mean, to say that this has been anyway. This isn't about me. It's about making sure that the people of Hawaii
I'm
are
not
safe.
trying to make it about you. I'm trying to get to the core. You representing your family, you representing the people of your state, and letting us know throughout the continental United States what it feels like to go through this, to actually wake up and see on your cell phone the initial alert saying an incoming ballistic missile, take cover, find shelter. I'm a father and I'm a husband. My first reaction would be, oh my God, what do I do with my family? And as I read from one tweet, that's exactly what happened with one woman who woke up to this kind of tweet and found her mother and daughter crying, hidden in the garage.
That's exactly the reality that the people of Hawaii just went through. That is the stark reality of saying, how do I keep my family safe? Where do we go? Where do we find shelter? Where do we find shelter that will protect us from a nuclear bomb, from this incoming missile? And the answers to those questions, they aren't there. And so, again, this is the stark reality. If you want to talk about readiness and all these other things, this is the reality that the people of Hawaii face. And if the people of this country had gone through what they just went through, they would be just as angry as I am.
Yeah, I'm going to bring in my colleague Laura Engel as well, Congresswoman. I'm just so appreciative of the fact that you've been able to reach out to us and talk to us on the phone, and our hearts go out to you as well as all the people there.
Absolutely.
And the beauty, there's no beauty in this. The great thing is that this is a false alarm. We must stress that this is a false alarm. Nonetheless, it is a serious false alarm in the fact that it caused panic and it caused people to run for cover. And we're on the phone, for those of you just joining us, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard and my colleague Laura Engel here.
And, you know, some of the tweets as you guys were talking, I wanted to read some of what we're seeing on Twitter. One person writes, a friend with relatives in Hawaii who got the message on the phone said it was pandemonium, that people were panicking, cars were screeching, no one knew what to do. There was real fear and real terror. Another person writing 35 agonizing minutes. There's still, you know, we're trying to figure out exactly how long this went on, 35 minutes, 37 minutes. Somebody else.
At this point, does it matter?
It doesn't really matter. You just know that it was over 30 minutes. And, you know, somebody also wrote on Twitter today, imagine if this happened during a weekday in, say, New York or California. Like, imagine what that would look like wherever you are watching us right now, what that would feel like, what you would do, where you would go, who you would call, how would you react? That is what is starting to sink in as we start to wrap our heads around what the people of Hawaii and the visitors of Hawaii have been dealing with today, Kelly.
In fact, Congresswoman, are you still with us?
I am.
What's the population of Hawaii?
Just over 1.3 million.
So that's 1.3 million people, and out of that, you would, the fact that so many have cell phones, you would obviously imagine that the majority of those people receive this text, only to wait, well, we still don't know the time, but perhaps 30, 35 minutes later to find out that it was a false alarm. So one could certainly understand, as Laura was talking about, those tweets that came in describing for us just how much of a panic there was, and you yourself saying that you're angry. So I've got to ask you, why are you angry?
I'm angry that the people of Hawaii went through this today in the first place. I'm angry that we are, as a people, as a country, sitting in a position due to the failure of past leaders where a false alarm, a mistaken alert like this is not something that can be brushed off because the reality of the threat exists. This very well could have been a real alert. And the people of my home state of Hawaii would have been left freaking out, wondering where could they possibly find shelter from an incoming nuclear attack from North Korea. This is something that leaders in our country have not taken seriously for far too long, as a disservice to the people of my home state and the people of this country. There is no more time to waste. That is the bottom line, and I hope the rest of the people in this country can understand what our families in Hawaii just went through today, what they're still reeling from, and urge leaders in this country, urge President Trump to take action, to engage with North Korea directly, talk to him, find a way to denuclearize so that we don't have to deal with the reality of this threat, so that no one else has to go through what the people of Hawaii just went through this morning.
Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard talking to us today on America's News headquarters, and very sobering thoughts from you, Congresswoman, and certainly understandable. And from Laura and myself, as well as those of us here at Fox News, we are comforted in knowing that this was a false alarm, but we certainly hear you loud and clear, and we think the rest of the nation understands your concern and your anger and your plea for getting it together and dealing with North Korea. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.